In 2018, Corneille Nangaa orchestrated the heavily criticized vote that handed President Félix Tshisekedi power. Today, he is the public face of a sprawling coalition of Congolese politicians and rebel groups fighting to oust him. The success of his unlikely transition from election board boss to rebel leader has so far hinged on a partnership with Rwandan-backed insurgents who have fought a series of rebellions in the east against Democratic Republic of Congo's central government during the last 2 decades. Over the years, these Tutsi-led groups have seized provincial border towns like Bukavu and Goma, where M23 rebels marched into on January 27 after a lightning advance that has forced thousands from their homes. But Nangaa, who has swapped sharp suits and a close shave for combat fatigues and a thick grey beard, is setting his sights on a feat no rebel group has managed since 1997, when a Rwanda and Uganda-backed alliance overthrew the aging autocrat Mobutu Sese Seko. Our objective is neither Goma nor Bukavu but Kinshasa, the source of all the problems, he told Reuters in an interview. In Congo, we have a weak state or a non-state. Where all the armed groups have sprung up, it's because there's no state. We want to recreate the state. He added that the fight was nationwide and he had many alliances, declining to give more details. While it is hard to gauge the extent of the support for Nangaa's alliance Fleuve Congo, AFC, which sees the M23 rebels as their military wing, UN experts said in December that an increasing number of armed factions sided with them. The United Nations, as well as the US, French, and UK governments, have called on Rwanda to withdraw forces from Congo, where UN experts say Kigali has deployed 3,000 to 4,000 troops and provided significant firepower, including missiles and snipers, to support the M23. Nangaa did not deny Rwandan support but said Kinshasa also had the backing of Burundi's army, highlighting the risks of a wider conflict. Rwanda has denied links with the rebels in the past while also defending their actions as self-defense. The government of Burundi, which has deployed some troops to Congo as part of a regional peacekeeping force, could not be immediately reached for comment. Election expert, sanctioned rebel. A native of northeastern Congo's Haut-Uele province near the border with South Sudan, Nangaa compiled the resume of a consummate technocrat through most of his career. He studied economics at the University of Kinshasa before working for international organizations as a consultant on elections across Africa, including for the United Nations Development Programme and the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, according to a 2015 profile by Congo's UN-backed Radio Okapi. Named to lead Congo's election commission in 2015 by then-President Joseph Kabila, Nangaa oversaw a 2018 election to choose Kabila's successor that was riddled with accusations of fraud but resulted in Tshisekedi being named the winner despite numerous reports that his rival, Martin Fayulu, had won. Nangaa, whose brother served as Haut-Uele governor from 2019 to 2024, later said he had agreed to change the results during 2018 elections to save Congo and preserve the peace. The following year, he was sanctioned by the US for embezzling funds meant for the election, but Washington stopped short of calling into question the legitimacy of the result. Replaced as head of the Election Commission in 2021, Nangaa initially said he was going to contest the 2023 vote but, after a public row with Tshisekedi over alleged backroom deals linked to the 2018 vote, he instead announced an alliance to oust him. Last year, a military court sentenced Nangaa to death in absentia for war crimes, insurrection, and treason, and the government accused Kabila of backing his movement, something Kabila's coalition denied at the time. Nangaa's AFC coalition has succeeded in securing support from outside the North Kivu stronghold where Rwandan-backed rebels have previously been focused. These include the Zaire armed group in Ituri, on the border with Uganda, and various militia in South Kivu, UN experts said. M23 definitely started as a Tutsi movement, but look at the number of forces they are now deploying. It is composed of many more different groups, said a diplomat. Speaking to Reuters as M23 fighters fanned out across Goma, Nangaa said the group planned to secure the city and its people before pressing onward. We want to re-establish order and give the Congolese people back a government. We don't want to go from one conquest to the next, he said. His political radicalization and his determination to draw on all available means to oust Félix Tshisekedi from power in Kinshasa seem to have found a rather favorable echo in Congolese opinion. Neither civil society organizations nor religious institutions have openly condemned the new war enterprise of Corneille Nangaa, the president of the Congo River Alliance, Alliance Fleuve Congo, AFC, a mega-politico-military platform which so far has managed to unify around 10 armed groups and several political parties. In Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, public opinion shows clear signs of exhaustion towards the Tshisekedi regime. The 5-year-long management of the second-largest country in Africa by the son of the historic opponent of the Mobutu regime, Etienne Tshisekedi, unfortunately has not managed to convince the Congolese people. The accumulation of acts of embezzlement of public funds and poor political casting judgment have negatively tainted local leaders who fail to provide exemplary management of institutions, toughening of security and police services which are now distinguished by acts of violation of human rights and above all, the establishment of a judicial and electoral system under the orders of President Tshisekedi. Nangaa has publicly lashed out against unfulfilled promises, lies and non-compliance with commitments made by the head of state. He has not hesitated to reproach Tshisekedi for this dangerous tendency to humiliate his collaborators, including the Special Advisor on Security, François Bea, the former leader of the presidential party Jean-Marc Kabunda or yet again, his private assistant Fortunate Bizlele. All three taken in for questioning and subsequently arrested without trial. Facts to which are added political leadership of the presidential family vis-a-vis citizens and a certain superiority complex of individuals emanating from the head of state's province of origin over other ethnical communities in the country. The African Commission for the Supervision of Elections, La Commission Africaine pour la Supervision des Elections, CASE, an organization very critical of the Tshisekedi regime, seized the American Senate on Christmas Day, claiming to fear that the proclamation of the electoral results fabricated by Tshisekedi's power would be adding fuel to the fire by igniting popular anger. The case has called on the United States government to conduct serious investigations into the Congolese electoral process as well as the proven non-election of Félix Tshisekedi and to consider sanctions against the Congolese president, his biological family, his government, and their accomplices, for planned electoral fraud, repression of opponents, political assassinations, in the case of Cherubin Okend, economic crimes, and tribal discrimination, as stressed by case President Simaro Ngongo. Nangaa, the revolutionary. Known for his first-class electoral expertise on the African continent, having trained both election administrators and sectoral technical experts, Corneille Nangaa managed the most mysterious electoral cycle in Congolese democracy. The first political alternation materialized in 2019 contains political secrets of which Nangaa is one of the architects. He regularly asserts that this transfer of power was materialized through a political agreement between the incoming and outgoing presidents. Nangaa promises to release a book detailing behind-the-scenes negotiations between the two personalities, Félix Tshisekedi and Joseph Kabila. Installing a civilian president in the chair occupied during 18 years by a major general was not a routine task. Nangaa had a strangely enigmatic role which placed him in the spotlight of the authorities, the powers, and the constitution. The most indecipherable political, security and diplomatic arbitrations. It took wisdom, courage, and personality to contain an unprecedented parade. It is this man-arbiter of the Kabila-Tshisekedi handover and recovery who today expresses his revolt by the mistakes made by the president invested in 2019. For Nangaa, Congolese democracy has ebbed and he therefore feels ethically obliged to reinstate new political balance to his nation. This balance inexorably involves regime change, implying the overthrow of Félix Tshisekedi at all costs. His personal qualities leave him no other choice. A peerless manager, he is invested with courage and outspokenness that does not always enchant his critics. Rigorous and unshakable in his convictions, Nanga proved intransigent towards Western powers during the proclamation of the 2019 electoral results. This led him to suffer the consequences of heavy American sanctions, the lifting of which are still in negotiations till to today. His contacts with armed groups. As head of the Congolese Independent Electoral Commission for 7 years, having successively coordinated all its operational technical structures for 10 years under the supervision of the DRC's very first election manager, Abbé Apollinaire Malu Malu, Corneille Nanga was at the heart of the Congolese democratic system, bringing together entities and personalities from across the board. His interlocutors were not only comprised of members of political parties, but also actors from civil society, traditional and religious leaders as well as the most disadvantaged social categories. The management of elections implying mastery of the country's geopolitical issues, Nanga was vigorously working to negotiate equilibrium between people and communities in security-troubled areas such as Greater Kivu, Greater Oriental and Greater Katanga provinces. He therefore rubbed shoulders with community leaders and armed groups. Forced to go into exile in April 2023 following political disputes, he was immediately appreciated for his sharp opinions against President Félix Tshisekedi. Nanga had shown himself hostile to the inconsistencies in government management and the disarticulation of the army. His direct criticism got him into a lot of trouble. Summoned 7 times by the prosecutor's office, he had his law-imposed personal guard of 15 men withdrawn, without justification. Once in exile, he attracted solidarity and fanaticism among opponents, including leaders of politico-military movements. His journey and his determination very quickly earned him multifaceted support which, in turn, made him the reference leader of the Congo River Alliance, Alliance Fleuve Congo, AFC. A farming entrepreneur with a detailed vision. Born on July 9, 1970, Corneille Nangaa comes from a royal Butu family from Haut-Uele. As such, he enjoyed indisputable social roots, having vast expanses of land and certified personal property. He launched the Abema de Gamberi farm Farigam in Gamberi, Watsa territory, as the first agricultural plantation that produced several varieties of vegetables and legumes, corn, tomatoes, eggplant, spinach, watermelon, and others, in industrial quantities. This resulted in a vast agricultural project of modern rice cultivation and other cereals on an agrarian farm of more than 23,000 hectares. In his pharaonic vision for peace, stability, dignity, and development of the DRC, Corneille Nangaa intends to promote the population's access to credit by easing the related conditions. In this ideal and as a development agent, he strongly encourages incentive-based legislation for local and foreign investments. Explicitly, Nangaa wants to democratize food, healthcare, and quality education. His vision of development, which he constantly submits to the appreciation of his partners, occupies a special place in the founding of the AFC, Kagame, EAC, and the M23. The international civil servant in electoral governance keeps repeatedly states that he has never been hypocritical in trying to hide his convictions and his networks. Corneille Nangaa stands alongside the M23 and Twirwaneho rebellions in particular, 2 political military movements known to be close to Rwanda and which are defending themselves in the 2 provinces of Kivu, among other things, for the survival of their communities. During the launch of his platform in Nairobi on December 15, 2023, Corneille Nangaa clearly justified his alliance with the armed groups. I can tell you that the rebel movements which are proliferating in Congo today are a creation of Mr. Tshisekedi himself. He has a signed agreement with most of these armed groups, including the M23. He does not keep his word. He haphazardly signs agreements which he doesn't comply with. This is one of the reasons that justify the frustration which is the root cause of the creation of armed groups, he explained. For Nangaa, Félix Tshisekedi uses Rwanda as a propaganda subject without revisiting his commitments to this country that he himself invited to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The same diplomatic infirmities apply to his agreement with the East African Community, EAC, and MONUSCO, whose troops were respectively sent back to their respective countries and ordered to pack up. Thank you for watching this video.